Don't you feel me crying? I'm washed away by the fall. Every day it feels like I'm dying. The waves crash my back to the wall. 8 hours since the first drop fell, and 8 hours sinking alone. I wish someone would reach out for me and heat this chill in my bones. Today it feels like the darkness wins. Tomorrow who knows what'll come. Struggling to keep my head above water, but my waterfalls aren't done. Don't you feel me crying? I'm washed away by the falls. Every day it feels like I'm dying. The waves crash my back to the walls. I'm washed away by the rain. Ooh, they feel so much pain. Make the sky fall down, make the sky fall down on me. Yeah. Ooh. Oh. Yeah, yeah. Stop.
There's something about watching the sunrise, wrapped in a blanket, barefoot, and sipping on coffee. We sat on the deck of the pool overlooking the city, saying nothing and just enjoying the company of one another. I didn't like the company of men as a rule. Women were much less complicated and, frankly, easier to let go of. Matthew looked dashing, his tie undone, his collar unbuttoned, his jacket gone. He was in his bare feet, too. He was ever more sophisticated, so he sipped on cognac instead of coffee. I suppose you're wondering why I didn't just tell you who I was up front, he said. I'd be lying if I said the thought hadn't crossed my mind. I know it seems crazy, but I wanted to see if you remembered me after all these years. Truthfully, I don't remember much of anything. The past often comes to me in chunks and bits and pieces. What I do remember is the chaos of that night, which everything was lost. I remember that night too. I remember driving to your father's compound and thinking something was in the air that night, something sinister. And when I pulled up, the house was burning. Mom came running out and was babbling incoherently. All I could make out was Arial, only survivor, and the thought of such an innocent trapped in that mansion. I don't know. It just compelled my 17-year-old ass right into the fire to find you. I remember hiding in the walls. I remember watching men take out my family one by one, and I remember waiting for it to be my turn, praying that it wouldn't be, praying that someone would save me, knowing the likelihood of that was slim to none. And most of all, I remember your eyes and the terror that was in them when you finally found me. It's probably the moment you took over my thoughts. And when Mom passed, you became a duty, a mission, a welcome complication. My life is rich with complications. He sipped his cognac as the steam rose from my mug. You never left my mind, Ariel. You have a very high profile as a virtuoso musician. There's a secret life behind those eyes, and I know what that's like. If you knew what my secret life was, you wouldn't say that. The gun you've been carrying all night has to be getting heavy. Why did you have Tilford in your home? He's the price of doing business in this town. Fuck Mickey Tilford and his type. He's a lot like your father. People around here have to kiss his ring. Well, he can kiss my ass. Matthew chuckled and swallowed the last of his cognac. My sweet angel, you like to go where the trouble is, don't you? It's not that I go to it. It's just that it seems to find me. I'm what you call a vigilante with a mission. He laughed softly. What vigilante is without one? I playfully nudged him. He nudged me back. The warmth of his body seeped into my bones. He smelled of soap and aftershave and cologne. I've done some reading up on you too. You're philanthropic to a fault. You're good with kids. You don't usually like adults. I like certain adults. Like me? He asked, smiling like the cat who ate the canary. You're one to talk about trouble. We both laughed. What is your secret life that you don't want anyone discovering? I live a life of revenge. For revenge. Sometimes I'm a gun for hire. What do you have a soft spot for? Kids? Animals? You? I said with a smile of my own. You can be a real charmer when you want to. You know, you remind me of your mother and father. How do you mean? You have the beauty of Elizabeth and the lean, hungry look of a wolf, like your father. Thank you. Something tells me it would be quite dangerous to land on the wrong side of you. Indeed. At the same time, all I can see is the frightened child you once were, blossoming into adulthood. I'm no bed of roses, more like a field of Venus flytraps. You're a better woman than you think. Hardly. I'm an assassin, a cold-blooded killer, with absolutely no reason to live other than the kill. What if I give you a reason? I live to avenge my family's death. What then? Then I take a dirt nap, I guess. Why don't we rule Hollywood and clean house? Rid the world of the Mickey Tilfords of this life. That sound like a plan? I cocked my head to the side and said, It's worth thinking about. He took the empty mug from my hand and set it aside. Ever been skinny dipping? I scoffed. I get naked for no one, because no one wants to see that, not even me. He lowered his voice to a whisper and ran his fingertips along my arm. You won't get naked now, in the safety of my presence? Will you be naked too? I asked softly as his touch lingered at my neck. Only if you want me to be. I looked him in the eye and said, Oh, I very much want you to be. And I want you to know you can trust me. Prove it, I whispered. Clever, erotic girl. I'm no girl, I said, peeling out of my evening gown. Sweet Jesus, heaven above. He was naked now and hard as a rock. No, you're not. You're all woman. He took my hand in his. I asked, Shall we? I broke out into a canary grin and said, Let's get a running start. We took a few steps back and started running. Then he screamed, Geronimo! And we were airborne. As we hung there suspended, for the briefest of seconds, we turned to each other. And for a minute, nothing mattered except that moment and our connection. I hadn't done anything purely childlike or fun since I'd been in Sophia's care. I smiled, he smiled, and then we fell to the water and plunged through the surface. To my surprise, it was heated. Beneath the surface, we embraced, and I wrapped my legs around his waist. We kissed as he swam me back against the wall, and we finally came up for air. Have you ever made love in a swimming pool? I've fucked plenty. I've never made love anywhere. Do you want to? There we were, two lost souls reuniting. I forgot how much of a torch I'd carried for him as a child and unwittingly as an adult. This was more intimate than I'd been with anyone at any time. I lost my ability to speak, so I looked deep in his eyes and nodded. He smoothed my hair back and slowly pushed inside of me, and the sensation was heavenly. We kissed again and again and again. And when we moved there in the water, I hesitated to cry out for fear of drawing attention. "Fear not," he said hoarsely. "Everyone else has gone home, and it is just you and I, my sweet assassin." He swallowed me up with kisses, and our love-making moved from slow and tender to frenzied and passionate. I felt pleasure and nothing but, with goosebumps running up and down my skin, and the climax eliciting a righteous moaning and thrashing and calling of Matthew's name. I knew I was falling for him. As we calmed and stilled, I knew something more. I knew I trusted him, and as far as loving someone went, there would be no one after him. "I've waited forever for this." We gazed into one another's eyes. "Me too," I replied. "Let's rule the world together." "Why not?" He wrapped me up in his arms, and in the morning dawn we clung to each other in the power of the promise of my family's power and legacy.